This country never had kings. This country never will. No kings, no slaves, no kings, no chains. Never, never, never again.
These latest discoveries, for us mob, it isn't shocking, but it is heartfelt, and we carry a lot of grief.
I've been doing works out there for some time now, out at Wajima, and I know that one of the things that we've always said, the old people have always said, there's more ancestral bones over there than people realise. The more development you guys be doing, I think that you're going to find more skeleton bones where the old people lived over there. Before it was an island, it was connected to the mainland. It's a very, very significant spot, place, location, culturally for the 60+ language groups across what is referred to as Western Australia.
It's not just about Noongar people, it's about all our Aboriginal people that's had a connection to Wajima. We want to come together, we want the truth to be told. That's what we're trying to work towards here today.
We need to contact the countrymen. This is not just remains of Noongar, who we don't know who it is at the moment. That's why we call him Balam. Balam means him, her. In regards to the remains itself, there is a protocols around cultural safety, there's protocols around what we do on country and how the countrymen are invited back down here to meet. So Brother George Hayden is actually our cultural engagement officer for Wajja. Him along with the elders Farley and Walter and Neville Collard and others will contact the men from the other regions of the West.
I think any part of this country, this state, hundreds of language nations across this landmass that people refer to as Australia, is a truth-telling that hasn't been told. And it has to be told by, firstly, the first language groups. And we are the first language groups. Like I say, there's hundreds, maybe 250 plus. The point is that our language, our authority comes from our Creator. And our Creator gives us the authority to speak to our country, on our country, through our country. And that's where we come to, and to be where we are today. So we welcome people with good spirit and good heart, no matter what cultural language group you come from. If you're not of Aboriginal or the hundreds of Aboriginal language nations, your language comes from another language across the sea. So it's quite important that we all come together, learning from each other, understanding each other, and building this country in the proper way it should be built.
Feel the history of the place. It's really hard to explain in some ways, but when I go somewhere different, I haven't been there before, I always love to know what happened here before, and I like to get to know some of the stories that happened in those places. It's a very similar thing here, but even though there's a lot of trauma behind it, we can acknowledge that and also move on. And having the truth of the matter about the island and to know the history about the place. And so when people come here, especially from different places and all over the world basically, we're looking forward to protecting the heritage sites here and also the truth-telling about the history of the place and also looking after the people that are buried here, and we have that cultural responsibility to care for our people that have been laid to rest here many, many years ago. Yeah, and keep their memory alive and to have a place where people can come and visit and learn about the history of the place. Not only that, but for us to move forward, and that's part of all that truth-telling to tell the true history about what's happened here and to acknowledge it, and also so we can deal with our trauma and past historical stuff that's been going on. I believe we have to set a pattern for our young people, and we've got to be the leaders and have a vision for our people, and we come from a background of where there was hardship, where there was working in different jobs, particularly here on the island. And, I think it's a really exciting time, especially for our non-out people and for the younger ones. And that we're laying these foundations not only for today, but for the people tomorrow and future generations.
It's a picture of paradise, but beneath its beauty lies a painful past.
While we all enjoy seeing quokkas, there is a lot more.
More than a dozen potential Aboriginal burial sites are covered during construction on Rottnest Island.
For us, Mob, it isn't shocking, but it is heartfelt, and we carry a lot of grief.
Human bones found at the same spot just 2 weeks ago. The Catholic church found in the centre of the town, slated for the island's main bus stop.
I know this is very distressing.
The Whadjuk Aboriginal Federation now working with the Island Authority to evacuate elders from across the state.
We want it to be a joint discussion on what happens with the discoveries.
The findings reigniting calls for greater awareness. Growing up then, we didn't really know anything about rocks. It was just a place you came for holidays. Yeah, so definitely some more education.
The development you're going to be doing, I think that's you're going to find more skeletal remains of our old people.
While the original plans are on pause, one proposal is a raised walkway through this site, allowing people to pass overhead and respect the remains below.
We want the truth to be told, and that's what we're trying to work towards here today.
Sophie Fennell, 9 News.
This is probably going to be one of the biggest death in custody sites in Western Australia. Today we're here because the work's been taking place out there, and remains were revealed. There's a lot of fun, laughter and all those other things, but also, for us, it's also has a very dark past, and we've only just revealed that over recent years, and so we put a process together to go out there and do our ceremony, which we did. We invited all of Western Australia down and the cultural ceremony. That's happened. Now we got revealed there's other bones being now found, so you feel sad when you do that, because you go out there and you see everybody laughing and having fun, but underneath there's a really dark history. Well, the significance is that at the end of the day, that as First Nations people, we the Noongar Bidman people, and this being Whadjuk country, one of the 14 tribal dialects of the Noongar Bidman nation, the cultural authority is a needed thing in this current world. People need to remind themselves, remember that this Swanaka colony is only less than 200 years old. It's not quite 200 here on, it's 1829 here, so people know that that's when the invasion took place. And we as Noongar people, we're still on our country as the sovereign nations. The first language, and I always say that our Creator, God, gave us our language, our voice to speak to this country, and to bless and to give praise and honour, glory and always back to our Creator, our God, our Heavenly Father. And that's what we do. And when we bring people in, we welcome people of other cultural groups. It's come from many other parts of the world and also come here and live and raise their families. So this is one of our major or main responsibilities as First Nations, First People. It also needs to be structured so that it's protected first and foremost from anybody. It needs to be cared for, looked after like any burial site. That's I suppose one of the better when revealed itself to the current public. There will be ceremonies that will be taking place, local ceremonies, and by men, senior men, and the Noongar Bidman group. Also, fully supported with our senior women too as well for the Noongar Bidman Whadjuk people. And so, we're working together as a family to ensure that correct cultural protocols are adhered to and also carried out.
Where the outcast, the fighters, the ones who survived, the ones who kept going when the world said hi. From the sails to the pines to the storms in our fucking heads. Where the living, the wounded, the ones never dead, and I'm still right here with the whole damn crew. My fans, my members, my lonely. Fucking you, if you're hurting, you're home. If you're lost, you're known. If you're breaking, you ain't breaking alone. We're a tribe built from the motherfucking pain, but we rise just the same. And we carry each other through the rain.
Construction has been halted on Rottnest Island with the discovery of more human remains. Further investigations are now underway as Indigenous groups prepare to unearth a dark chapter for the holiday hotspot.
It's a picture of paradise, but beneath its beauty lies a painful past.
While we all enjoy seeing quokkas, there is a lot more to Rottnest than just quokkas.
More than a dozen potential Aboriginal burial sites uncovered during construction on Rottnest Island.
For us, mob, it isn't shocking, but it is heartfelt, and we carry a lot of grief.
Human bones found at the same spot just 2 weeks ago. The Catholic church ground in the centre of town, slated for the island's main bus stop.
I know this is very distressing for members of the Indigenous community, so we are carefully working through this.
The Wadjuk Aboriginal Corporation now working with the Island Authority, talks underway with elders from across the state.
We want it to be a joint discussion on what happens with the discoveries.
The findings reigniting calls for greater awareness.
Growing up then, that we didn't really know anything about Rottnest. It was just a place you came for holidays, yeah, so definitely some more education.
Development you're going to be doing, I think that's you're going to find more skeletal remains of our old people.
While the original plans are on pause, one proposal is a raised walkway through this site, allowing people to pass overhead and respect the remains below.
We want the truth to be told, and that's what we're trying to work towards here today.
Sophie Fenner, 9 News.
Now, you're saying that there may not be a possibility of doing a proper identification of the bones. So what will be the process then? Are you going to talk with the other Aboriginal communities here in WA and, find out and negotiate what you're going to do with these bones?
I think that conversation needs to be had because, like I said, there's different cultural groups from right across the state that were, sort of involved in the discussion last year. And no doubt, I suppose Wojak will need to actually consult with the different groups or different people around the state in regards to, give us some idea on what do you want us to do. We know elders on Monday said, we were given the cultural authority to do, if we do find anything, we got that cultural authority to do something, but we still got to have a conversation with everybody throughout the state, be it, all the other cultural groups, so they need to be consulted.
Spider web. When I press on this, everything moves, alright? Everything is connected. Everything depends on something else. Good man. Good job.
Yeah, let's protect Wodjamuk. It's not all about tourism. It's not all about Rottnest Island becoming the #1 tourism spot for the state. We have a dark history, a black history that's not been told, and it needs to be educated right across the board in the system so people get an understanding of what's going on with our mob.
We think it's an Aboriginal person that's been buried over in Rottnest Island for many, many years. We don't know much detail about that person at the moment, and we know that the people that were in authority at the time over at Rottnest Island have dealt with the situation in a very respectful way, and that they brought it to our attention, and so we've called a meeting to discuss with some of the other elders what to do and to follow the Noongar protocols.
From a Wodjak point of view, Rottnest Islands will be instigating more GPR, ground probing radar, and we're going to get archaeologists more involved in this process too. So who knows, there could be more remains to be found. So, and we want to make sure we are doing the cultural, sensitive way of dealing with this remains. But I think in the group discussion we just had, the name Balong sort of come to mind from Elder Neville Collard. So at this stage we'll refer to the remains as being Balong.
We'd like to acknowledge all the Aboriginal elders all over Western Australia, and we want to get some information to them eventually when we find out what's been going on, and we want to pay our respects and to invite people to come eventually when we have a proper ceremony. Yeah, just for people to hold on and to just be in contact with Wodjak Aboriginal Corporation, and I'm sure that the CEO will get in contact with various organisations and people as we go.
We're going to have a chat today about the Noongar Women's Summit, I believe it's called. Can you give people a little bit of a background on what that is?
Yes, it's this exciting venture that I had this vision, thought one evening to say, well, I looked around and a lot of other regions that were holding women's seminar, women's meetings, calling them all together as a big mob, and we Noongars down the south, we haven't had a gathering of women at all. So I felt that I wanted to call together a set of people who would come and work with me to start the journey of pulling together a Noongar woman.
They come to you during election time with promises, but once they get what they want, those promises disappear. If you keep giving your support without demanding results, then you are not being represented. The man to any system of oppression is the man who can think for himself. Once the people begin to question what they have been taught, once they begin to search for
I see everyone struggling just to buy basic groceries. This land is rich, but our families are hurting.
We have no money.
Like a freight train with no rails.
And that's how it should be. When we have no money, it's a different lifestyle. When you see the old people, there was no, in our language we have no such word as please or thank you, because it is what is expected of us is that we share and we give what we have. Today we have to say please, we have to say thank you, we have to beg for things. In the old days it was just a giving thing that we would share things. That was a part of who we are. And not only for Aboriginal people, I expect people all around the world would do the same things before money. But nowadays it's mine. There are words like mine. We don't share our things anymore, and it's become, it kills us as human beings, as a society, as a race. When I say race, I'm talking about the human race. But we deny other people shelter, we deny other people food, we deny other people their survival.
The Walk for Truth, heading to Canberra with the one and only Travis Lovett, then get on board. This is the time for our country to start truth-telling. Truth will set us free, ultimately. It will allow us to mature as a nation. We know that many people for decades were denied the true history of what's gone on in good old Oz. So this is an opportunity to walk a while, talk a while, have a better understanding of the beautiful stories, and yes, some of these hard stories also, of what it means to live in what is now called Australia. So sign up to the walk, get on board, be part of the solution, not the problem. We know our country's divided. So truth-telling is about healing. It's about bringing people together. So get your running shoes on or your walking shoes on and have a conversation. Get yourself free. We don't need the division in our country. This is an opportunity. And so check out the deets below, sign up, and yes, Trav, I'll be on one of those last legs to Ngunnawal Ngambri country, so stay tuned everyone and get on board.
Being here at Bullroom Earth because of the chance to gather really and to reclaim this space for First Nations people but for all people in order to feel safe. 2 months ago, on the 26th of January, this place was a place that turned into fear. And it was important for First Nations people to reclaim it because we stand very firmly against hatred, racism in all its forms, but also that sense of fear and rejection of it. And that's why we've come together today to support everyone here. There are still a lot of people deeply traumatised by that event, and some may be here and some may not be. But I think it was important for the City of Perth, the Council, the West Australian Government and for the Federal Government to actually be here in solidarity.
Doesn't matter what they say.
There's no priority. You're trying to fuck up a protest, mate. We have a right to do this, buddy. So we're going to be heard. We're going to be heard. We're going to be heard.
It's small things. So when you ask for them, people will say, oh, let's get this country all the way around. We are the country where the money goes to. When we go around Mark Bevan across North America, millions of dollars.
They reckon something was thrown into the crowd. They reckon something was thrown into the crowd and they're going to stop the protest. It's like here. They call it upstairs. We're not going. We're not going. Right foot, no. Right foot. They've got the streets up there, cunt. This bloke here, he's calling the shots. Here's me coming. Shame!
There is no very there's one service and one is very
Chance to gather, really, and to reclaim the space for First Nations people, but for all people, in order to feel safe. 2 months ago, on the 26th of January, this place was a place that turned into fear, and it was important for First Nations people to reclaim it because we stand very firmly against hatred, racism in all its forms, but also that sense of fear and rejection of it. And that's why we've come together today to support everyone here. There are still a lot of people deeply traumatised by that event, and some may be here and some may not be. But I think it was important for the City of Perth Council, the West Australian Government and for the federal government to actually be here in solidarity.
Coming together, getting information, sharing it, and listening. And I think it was achieved really well in terms of it was positive. People asked questions from the Commissioner. There were a lot of thoughts on a lot of topics.
WA Police Commissioner Cole Blanche has met with senior members of the Noongar community, opening up the conversation in the wake of the tragic events of January 26 in Boorloo, Perth. The meeting followed the Survival Invasion Day rally at Forest Place, where a homemade explosive device was thrown toward the stage, triggering a police response and evacuation of more than 2,000 people. A 31-year-old Warwick man was taken into custody and appeared in court on Tuesday, facing one charge of unlawful act or omission with intent to harm and one charge of making or possession of explosives under suspicious circumstances. He will appear in court again next month and has been refused bail as discussions now turn to safety, accountability and a path forward for First Nations communities.
There's about 22 Aboriginal people in there with the Commissioner. Suffice to say they've interviewed someone about what happened on Monday. That will take its natural course. There are weeks to be had about what that potential bomb, if it had detonated, what it could have caused, what was the chemicals in it, what was the products in it, what was the spread of that particular thing. So all those things were able to be shared, which is great. The Commissioner himself is not a specialist in that area, but he was able to give us what the pathway would look like moving forward. But a reassurance that he wants to, and he is going to go to his commissioned officers and those senior ranks to say, we've got to work with this community and we want to work with that community. So as Aboriginal people, we want that gap that is this big to become this big with relationships with police and how we want to move forward. There's no good having division and a divisive process here because we'll get nowhere. Whereas if we work together, even if we have robust, uncomfortable conversations along the way, those things need to be had. And I think that's going to shape us better for that short-term and long-term future. So hopefully those things will happen. And I'm confident the group of people in there, they represented senior people and senior organisations in Noongar country, and I think the right people were at the table. Yeah, we could have had another 50-odd people in the room, and we weren't there, but those people that were there, great. Those who are absent, but we know they're great leaders and great people out there, we want them on board to spread the word too, to say, we want to do this together. We're not scared of anyone. We've been here a long time, and even...
Been an explosion, everyone needs to go. We're not taking the piss.
A Survival Day rally in Boorloo, Perth has been abruptly halted after WA police responded to a reported threat in Perth's CBD. A witness at the Invasion Day rally told National Indigenous Times they were warned a device had been found. Move-on orders were issued as police used megaphones to tell the crowd to disperse, saying there was something in the crowd that poses a risk to your safety. WA Police confirmed just after 1 p.m. they were responding to a threat at Forest Place with an exclusion zone established and significant resources deployed. One person is in custody and assisting police. Investigations are ongoing and authorities are...
Been an explosion, everyone needs to go. We're not taking the piss.
A Survival Day rally in Boorloo, Perth has been abruptly halted after WA Police responded to a reported threat in Perth CBD. A witness at the Invasion Day rally told National Indigenous Times they were warned a device had been found. Move-on orders were issued as police used megaphones to tell the crowd to disperse, saying there was something in the crowd that poses a risk to your safety. WA Police confirmed just after 1 p.m. they were responding to a threat at Forest Place with an exclusion zone established and significant resources deployed. One person is in custody and assisting police. Investigations are ongoing and authorities are urging the public to stay away from the area.
Yeah, let's protect Wodjamuk. It's not all about tourism. It's not all about Rottnest Island becoming the #1 tourism spot for the state. We have a dark history, a black history that's not been told, and it needs to be educated right across the board in the system so people get an understanding of what's going on with our mob.
We think it's an Aboriginal person that's been buried over in Rottnest Island for many, many years. We don't know much detail about that person at the moment, and we know that the people that were in authority at the time over at Rottnest Island have dealt with the situation in a very respectful way, and that they brought it to our attention, and so we've called a meeting to discuss with some of the other elders what to do and to follow the Noongar protocols.
From a Wodjak point of view, Rottnest Islands will be instigating more GPR, ground probing radar, and we're going to get archaeologists more involved in this process too. So who knows, there could be more remains to be found. And we want to make sure we are doing the cultural, sensitive way of dealing with this remains. But I think in the group discussion we just had, the name Balong sort of come to mind from Elder Neville Collard. So at this stage we'll refer to the remains as being Balong.
We'd like to acknowledge all the Aboriginal elders all over Western Australia, and we want to get some information to them eventually when we find out what's been going on, and we want to pay our respects and to invite people to come eventually when we have a proper ceremony. Yeah, just for people to hold on and to just be in contact with Wodjak Aboriginal Corporation, and I'm sure that the CEO will get in contact with various organisations and people.
Jim.
Today is Invasion Day.
Yes, I know, and it's a really, really important acknowledgement. And I'm really, really pleased you've asked me to speak today.
Award of a medal of some sort.
Oh,
AOM? AMO?
Oh, you are hopeless, aren't you? No, well, you're not.
Order of
hopeless.
Australia.
Why should you know about these white colonial kind of awards?
Yeah, white privilege stuff.
But I want to just say, this is an officer in the Order of Australia.
Right.
This is one of the top awards. And so you've got this because of what you've done for your whole life, but particularly for Yokai and the Stolen Generation, all the people that you've helped and the film that you've made, all of these things. But it's more than that, Jim. This award is not just for you. And I think you have to understand that. You are the leader, the obvious face of Yokai and the Stolen Gen in WA, and now nationally, and increasingly internationally. But it's an award to recognise this issue.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing, that you can stand there proudly and say, I have won this because it is an issue that is important for Australia. Just think about that. that it's not actually just about you, it is about how important the stolen generation and the impact that that's had on people. That's what this award is for you.
It's going to be quite an emotional, traumatic day for a lot of First Nation people
of
and a lot of our allies like yourself.
Of course. So, I get very upset on both Sorry Day, as you know, and Invasion Day. But also, the fact is, some Aboriginal people, and I have actually recommended a lot of Aboriginal people for these awards, refuse them. And they refuse them because it is a colonial award. It's a white person's award.
Mm.
But the reason that I put people up for this award is because I want you to be up there. Why shouldn't you be up there and acknowledged? You're Australians.
Yep.
So don't feel bad about the fact that you've got an AO, and put it after your name with pride, lad.
Very, very pleasantly surprised and absolutely delighted to see that my very, very dear friend and colleague in a number of areas that we've worked together in, Jim Morrison, has been given an Order of Australia. The fact that it's being given out on Australia Day or Invasion Day, whatever, is irrelevant. It is the fact is that this is an Order of Australia, and the Orders of Australia are given out, happens to be given out on a day that's been designated as Australia Day. I think that in all my years of looking back over the people that I know who've won awards, I would have to say that this is the most deserving one, recognizing what Jim has done in the area of the better understanding of Aboriginal history, the better integration of all our communities into one. I can't think of a better recipient for this award than Jim Morrison. So I congratulate Jim enormously on this matter and wish him the very, very best, and know that he stands on the shoulders of a whole host of other people from the Aboriginal communities, and will look forward to seeing massive more contributions to this in the next few years.
I mean, thank you, Suresh. As you said, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and sadly I lost my mum 4 months ago. She was a stolen person. She was 98 years of age, and knew very well the late Robert Riley, and they're shoulders of giants. So I've got to acknowledge them. I've got to acknowledge all those people that have gone before me in the fight for our justice, in the fight for our struggle. An amazing day. I know that there'll be some criticism from black and white, and probably more so from First Nation people, but I hope that they can see what the benefit that will be achieved by commemorating what this day is, but more importantly, the struggles for our people.
The field that you've done it in happens to be in this area, but you've done it at an exceptional level, and that's what the award's recognising.
Excellent.
Well done.
No amount of money could ever make up for the experience of Stolen Generations members and their families and the ongoing effects on people's lives. These payments acknowledge an injustice. It does not correct what has happened, but it does offer a path forward. And I know that there are elderly members of the Stolen Generations who have waited a long time for this. Some are here today, but it's no doubt that it's overdue. I'm very pleased to announce that the WA government has today announced that it is delivering a significant scheme for living members of the Stolen Generation in WA. Today we take small steps towards righting a historic wrong. The WA Stolen Generations Redress Scheme is a further step towards reconciliation and healing the past wrongs. It acknowledges the Stolen Generations era represents a sorrowful and shameful part of our history, and recognises that it has caused cycles of disadvantage and intergenerational trauma. A payment of $85,000 will be made available to Aboriginal children who were removed from their families in Western Australia up until the 1st of July 1972, in recognition of the harm and trauma experienced by Stolen Generations survivor under historical laws and policies that disadvantage Aboriginal people. The WA Government, more importantly, will partner with WA Aboriginal organisations in additional measures to support members of the stolen generations, such as healing and truth-telling programs. The scheme is expected to open to registrations in the second half of 2025, with distribution of payments to commence in late 2025. Family members will be able to submit an application on behalf of stolen generation members who passed away on or after the announcement of the scheme, that is today. So while we are looking to make payments by the end of the year, eligibility will be open from today. We want to walk together on this journey, the journey of truth-telling and healing, and we can't do it without talking and walking with the people who are directly impacted. That's why we made a commitment to the Stolen Generations groups, including Yokai, Kimberley Stolen Generations Mob, about how we can interpret and work together in their particular circumstances about truth-telling, about healing. And look, many people sort of say, well, this is all ancient history. This is a long time ago. This young fella here, he was one of the stolen generations. So this is not something which happened in ancient history. This is something which has happened in our lifetime. And we are the generation that must try to fix it. And today we'll be taking those first small, deliberate steps as part of this redress scheme.
Our people have suffered. This is our shared history of this state. The evilness that took place in this state has a ripple effect right across this country. And I'm so proud and honoured to work in partnership with the Premier and his parliamentary members. And we've worked a long time together to ensure that this day will come. As the Premier said, no amount of money will ever make up for the pain and the suffering that our people have suffered and those that have gone before us. This state was the worst state in the country because of the chief protector that we had in this space, who controlled every aspect of each and every one of us as Aboriginal people of this state. This man was practicing eugenics before Hitler, breeding out the colour. And today is a historical moment. And as a survivor, I'm so proud to work in partnership with the Premier and his government.
The trauma that we carry has affected the the trajectory of our lives, and it's not everything, but it definitely will help. Not only ourselves but our families as well.
I'm glad that the government has made a commitment to support our services, not just a payment, but to support our services, to support our people. 57% or more of our population are stolen and or descendants. Therefore, the government needs to support us in making sure healing happens, and healing's got to happen if there's truth-telling. So the Premier said there's funding for truth-telling, there's got to be funding for justice. He's made that commitment today. There has to be funding for healing. We can't have this reconciliation unless we have truth, justice and healing. So thank you, Premier. Long time coming. I can't call you Roger the Dodger anymore. So thank you. Thanks.
My name's Dot Bagshaw. I was in the Carolap Mission near Katanning as a stolen generation, and I'm very proud to hear that Roger's going to give us a payment of $85,000, which will come in handy for all of us. You know, we're all getting old, and we just wanted to know if we could get some money before we pass.
Is there a bomb threat?
There has been an explosion. Everyone needs to go. We're not taking the piss.
A Survival Day rally in Boorloo, Perth has been abruptly halted after WA police responded to a reported threat in Perth's CBD. A witness at the Invasion Day rally told National Indigenous Times they were warned a device had been found. Move-on orders were issued as police used megaphones to tell the crowd to disperse, saying there was something in the crowd that poses a risk to your safety. WA police confirmed just after 1 p.m. they were responding to a threat at Forest Place with an exclusion zone established and significant resources deployed. One person is in custody and assisting police. Investigations are ongoing and authorities are urging the public to stay away from the area.
Today's meeting was about coming together, getting information, sharing it, and listening. And I think it was achieved really well in terms of it was positive. People asked questions from the Commissioner. There were a lot of thoughts on a lot of topics.
WA Police Commissioner Cole Blanche has met with senior members of the Noongar community, opening up a conversation in the wake of the tragic events of January 26 in Boorloo, Perth. The meeting followed the Survival Invasion Day rally at Forest Place, where a homemade explosive device was thrown toward the stage, triggering a police response and evacuation of more than 2,000 people. A 31-year-old Warwick man was taken into custody and appeared in court on Tuesday, facing one charge of unlawful act or omission with intent to harm and one charge of making or possession of explosives under suspicious circumstances. He will appear in court again next month and has been refused bail as discussions now turn to safety, accountability and a path forward for First Nations communities.
There's about 22 Aboriginal people in there with the Commissioner. Suffice to say they've interviewed someone about what happened on Monday. That will take its natural course. There are weeks to be had about what that potential bomb, if it had detonated, what it could have caused, what was the chemicals in it, what was the products in it, what was the spread of that particular thing. So all those things were able to be shared, which is great. The Commissioner himself is not a specialist in that area, but he was able to give us what the pathway would look like moving forward. But a reassurance that he wants to, and he is going to go to his commissioned officers and those senior ranks to say, we've got to work with this community and we want to work with that community. So as Aboriginal people, we want that gap that is this big to become this big with relationships with police and how we want to move forward. There's no good having division and a divisive process here, because we'll get nowhere. Whereas if we work together, even if we have robust, uncomfortable conversations along the way, those things need to be had. And I think that's going to shape us better for that short-term and long-term future. So hopefully those things will happen. And I'm confident the group of people in there, they represented senior people and senior organisations in Noongar country, and I think the right people were at the table. Yeah, we could have had another 50-odd people in the room, and we weren't there, but those people that were there, great. Those who are absent, but we know they're great leaders and great people out there, we want them on board to spread the word too, to say we want to do this together. We're not scared of anyone. We've been here a long time, and even in contemporary Australia, we continue to be here.
Everyone knows that Invasion Day right across the country is a day of truth-telling and importance to our people. So what I would like to see is our actual Noongar community and our Whadjuk mob coming together to form an actual Invasion Day committee with the City of Perth, so that we can have proper organisation for an event that is very important, hugely important to our mob. And I think that that's a way of us strengthening relations with the police, as well as, like the local authorities that hand out the permits and that for these kind of events. I also want to thank the WA Police as well, after seeing the footage, for acting promptly and swiftly. This kind of thing hasn't happened before, and I think that they did really well. And I think that was hindered by the lack of organisation of the event and the events that happened on Monday. So I think us coming together as a strong community in unity with the elders to organise an event of this nature is the way to go for our mob.
Basically what I want to say as a mother and a grandmother, great-grandmother, that we want to keep our community safe, and that Perth, of all the places in the world, should be one of the safest places to go out and enjoy an event out in the open. And we want to stick together as Australian people and make this place a better place.
Perhaps it wasn't said loud enough. I think what the police have done for that dreadful day was they did that really well, and I think we need to rely on them to protect us, and I don't think that was clear enough.
I think authorities and the government have got to do more for Indigenous people, because they left us out in every shape, size and form.
And I want to put forward to working with the police in a better presence. So a visible protection policing on cultural days. We ask for visible, culturally informed police
presence at known cultural events on Noongar country. Not to police our people, but to protect them. Protection prevents escalation. Absence invites harm.
As First Nation people, I think we should be respected a bit more, and I think there should be more out there within the public to encourage the respect for the First Nation people. And us as First Nation people, we do want to get on with the rest of the country, and we all enjoy Australia together.
Important to be here at Uluru Earth because of the chance to gather, really, and to reclaim the space for First Nations people, but for all people, in order to feel safe. 2 months ago, on the 26th of January, this place was a place that turned into fear. And it was important for First Nations people to reclaim it because we stand very firmly against hatred, racism in all its forms, but also that sense of fear and rejection of it. And that's why we've come together today, to support everyone here. There are still a lot of people deeply traumatised by that event, and some may be here and some may not be. But I think it was important for the City of Perth Council, the West Australian Government, and for the federal government to actually be here in solidarity with Noongar people and First Nations people.
I was sitting back here. I come to many, many rallies, but this one here, I lived in fear, but I refuse to live in fear. I won't let anyone like him stop me from coming to you, standing by in solidarity with my people.
Yeah.
And I love my people, and I'll stand till the day I die for my people.
I think today is really important for us to come back to reclaim the space where this alleged racist terror attack happened on Invasion Day. It has been deeply upsetting for Mob. It's really shaken us to our core. I know that, some Mob are really worried about, leaving the house. Like, I'm thinking twice before putting on, Mob, clothing or Aboriginal colours even. And so it's about us being able to come back together after this alleged attack and show that we're not going anywhere. They're not going to silence us. We have so many injustices that we're protesting that we were out here for on Invasion Day, like deaths in custody, like our children being removed at horrific levels, like family violence, like lack of housing, like mining companies destroying our budja. And that's why it's so important that we come back and show that we're here and we're not going anywhere. Today's about healing, but we can't heal unless we deal with the fact that this was an alleged racist terror attack. And we have to look at that alleged racism and where that comes from in our community. And it's really embedded in so-called Australia, in the blood and bones of this settler colony. We have not had it validated through courts and authorities about the role of white supremacy. And I think that it's really important that politicians are speaking about it now and recognising that. But it can't just be naming it. We need to have actual action. And to address racism in this country, that means that we have to address, racism which is killing our people in police, in prisons, in hospitals, in child protection. It needs to be done at an institutional level, as well as looking at, direct racism from individuals as well. So that is part of this healing. It has to be about governments taking immediate action so that we make sure this never happens again.
Which is the 29th of March, they've held a protest or something about a fucking open space, free to fucking air or whatever bullshit it is. The Premier's office allowed for it, and a few Indigenous leaders who don't lead fucking me have had a protest today, and I just got arrested and I got a move on notice, another one, thank you. And I was pissed off because my nephew and my auntie jumped up on stage and fucking danced and fucking spoke on behalf of them. And all I have to say is that if my father was alive, that shit wouldn't have happened. They think they know who they are, who I am. Well, that's who I am. I'm not that dog cunt who walks around and fucking, records shit for no fucking reason. I do it for a purpose. Because these cunts are doing the wrong thing. It took the dogs nearly 2 months to respond to what happened on Australia Day. It took them 9 days to acknowledge that it was a fucking act of terrorism, which should have took them fucking 0.9 of a second to do that. These cunts are a disgrace. I'm disgusted in all your actions, and all you fellas that were there today helping out, performing. I'm fucking disgusted in what you have done. No one wants to run it by me, but you all want to use that man's name, who I'm named after, in response to your fucking actions. Don't you dare, you keep my fucking father's name out of your mouths, otherwise I'll fucking snap your fucking jaws. I don't give a fuck who you are. You do not know nothing about my father, because if you did, you wouldn't have fucking did it. You should be ashamed of yourselves.